the bold, the brave, the beautiful. They turned their problems into prospects, crying into creation, pain into purposes, trials into triumph. Your show every Saturday, 7 p.m. Central African Time. Tune in and be blessed. Brought to you by Shunem K. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited today that you have joined us one more time. And today I have a very wonderful sister all the way from Kenya, the beautiful country of the world athletes that have conquered in marathons, and they have done very well. I have Sister Doris Murimi, who is an author, and she is an adolescent menstrual health advocate and a founder and CEO of the Endo Sisters of East Africa Foundation. Doris Murimi is an endo warrior who unknowingly struggled with endometriosis and adenomyosis for 30 years and before finally obtaining a diagnosis. Also, she suffered from fibroids. As I'm looking at this, there are 3 conditions that she has suffered. And so 6 years ago, this experience bore her passion project of creating awareness on endometriosis. This passion project metamorphosed into a program that then grew into a foundation. And the foundation is what we know today is the Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation, which runs the Yellow Nails movement campaign on endometriosis awareness. Her dream then of seeing menstrual disorders taught in schools was realized through the foundation. But then she didn't stop there. In 2021, she then authored her first book entitled When Something Goes Wrong, Understanding Menstrual Disorders. Right now, I am extremely excited to welcome Sister Doris Murimi. Welcome, my dear sister.
Greetings to you and the audience, and it's a real pleasure for me to be here on this platform. I'm so excited and humbled.
Thank you very much, Sister Doris. And today you are wearing yellow. I should have thought about that, and I should have worn yellow as well. And yellow is a color that speaks in the infertility world. Tell us about this yellow color.
Yeah, well, yellow for us particularly, reflects happiness, positivity, and it's really, and it's, it's a bright, joyous color. And for endometriosis, it's been known as the color of endometriosis. And knowing that endometriosis is actually, I think, the top cause of infertility. Maybe at least one of the top 3, and arguably maybe the top cause of infertility. It's an appropriate color to wear for this discussion today. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It is an appropriate color. Unfortunately, I'm wearing black, but I'm yellow in heart. So yes. Thank you, my sister. When something goes wrong, that's the powerful book that you wrote.
Yes.
Yes. Tell us about the story behind this book. What could be the story behind this book?
All right. Thank you. When something is wrong, is really about talking about something that's very personal, that's an issue that rarely spoken about, and that is understanding menstrual disorders. It talks about, conditions that affect women. And when we talk about dysmenorrhea, is where you will find now conditions such as endometriosis, adenomyosis, and even fibroids. And these can impact, if not treated, they go untreated. Of course, they can cause infertility. So my interest in this is because myself, having lived with 3 conditions and stayed without having a diagnosis for so long. Actually, I started off with adenomyosis. I didn't know it was adenomyosis. I then developed endometriosis. That's the time I was getting a diagnosis. And later on, I developed fibroids. And you see, all these cumulatively will cause worse and worse conditions in terms of the reproductive health. It will have a negative impact on reproductive health. And so it occurred to me that there were many other women who are also not aware that there were these kind of conditions, and so many of them suffered in silence. They thought it was normal. They thought heavy bleeding was normal. They thought maybe menstrual pain was normal. They thought, irregularity in flow was normal. And so they persevered. And this kind of perseverance is actually, when untreated, is what will cause, a woman then to get an infertile diagnosis. Because obviously, the sooner it is diagnosed, the better hope there is in terms of even the better chances, particularly here when we're talking about infertility from the aspect of the woman. I wrote this book, When Something is Wrong, it was really for women to understand these menstrual disorders, be aware. First of all, understand that there is a condition called this and that, endometriosis, adenomyosis. These conditions exist. These are the symptoms, so that they are aware that they're actually suffering from something. Because many women, experience it, but they don't know that they're going through that. So the first reason was really for diagnosis purposes, for women to obtain early diagnosis. The second thing was now support system, to bring about camaraderie, support for people to see that there are many of us who are going through these issues, so that then there is, they say there is comfort in numbers. You feel you belong, and also reducing of the stigma, by talking about it, the cultural and social stigma about these issues of, infertility and also sickness, related to menstrual health. Because people find it very, it's not just infertility alone, but even being sick every time during your menstrual cycle is considered, is considered very odd, So again, very taboo. Yeah. And if you recall, even from the Bible, you see the woman with the issue of blood. It was also very taboo, she was just considered unclean because she was bleeding all the time. So from that same aspect, again, talking about it because of those cultural biases. So the book is actually written in a very, I've written it in a story-like format so that people can actually read it, and very engaging. It captures a lot of issues. It, the diagnosis element. It also talks about, particularly in relation to infertility, it talks about the options that are there for those who are diagnosed with infertility, such as adoption and such as surrogacy, IVF, those kind of options. It's also, the book also talks about relationships, the impact of infertility on relationships. I think that is one of the hardest challenges, just seeing that from the eyes of the characters that we talk about in the book. And then it also talks about the kind of, it also, that is from the eyes of a woman. It also talks about infertility from the eyes of a husband.
Let me slow you down there, from the eyes of a man. All right, okay. Because this is a man that is talking to you. And this is a childless man that's speaking to you. And from the eyes of a man, let me hear more about that.
In fact, to tell you about a story that is that shocked Kenyans last night. It was in yesterday's news. what happened is that there's a man who shot his wife, shot her 3 times in the head, last night, and then turned the gun on himself. This
Hey,
was just last night, right?
that's
And what happened, the story has unraveled, and we have found out that they had been married for 12 years. This was a childless marriage. What happened is the man is the one who had the issue. The papers, it is alleged that he was, what they use is impotent, and that he knew that. But when he got into the marriage, he never disclosed it to his wife. And so they, after about 6 years of marriage, the wife was, she was really desperate to have a child. So of course, issues started coming in the marriage, but they were trying IVF, they were trying everything. Of course, nothing was working because obviously nothing worked. So at some point now, the wife walked out of the marriage because it had caused such a strain in this marriage. So they said now that apparently they happened to get together because he happened to tell her that he was in a car accident or something. So he drew her to come to his house to come and see him. And in the process of talking, apparently, she disclosed to him that she was actually pregnant, and that just sent, caused him to go completely crazy.
oh,
Imagine that his wife was pregnant. And in my mind, what I imagine is that now it would really come out that he was the one with the problem because the wife must have been impregnated, obviously outside, they hadn't been together.
yeah.
Outside the marriage, they hadn't been together. So I think that's the shame that, everything of just that whole rage of knowing that, he took the gun, he was a licensed gun holder, and he shot her in the head 3 times,
Oh,
3 times before
oh no.
turning the gun on himself. So that's just a classic example, really, of just showing how, this was a closely guarded secret by the man. He was even unable to, discuss it with his wife. It just shows just how, culturally, how taboo this issue has been, especially from the perspective of the man. Yeah. Especially from the perspective of the man. Yes. So even in the book where I pick up the story, there is and by the way, every story in the book is a real story. There's no fiction. These are based on true characters because there are a lot of characters. So from the man is a husband who talks about how he has had to support his wife, take her for medical, the treatments and all that, and even the struggle as a husband not having enough funds to cater to your wife's medical needs. So that you see the anguish of men going through that, and also the emotional toil that the husband is going through. But every time he sees his wife in such pain, having or even having a failed miscarriage, just the emotional toil that he also goes through it together. But I have an very interesting aspect of his story is that the family, always have been telling him to consider getting a second wife, so that he's able to bear children, to have children, because in their case, the wife is the one who has the issue. So they tell him to do that, and he says he has clearly refused to do so. In fact, to the extent that his parents, his family are the ones who are giving him so much pressure. I mean, his relatives from his side, that it has been 2 years since they went up country to his side. They only go to the wife's side. He said because he's shielding his wife from from the questions of when are the babies coming, when those kind of questions. So you see it from the eyes of a man and what he's going through, and how he also feels so bad when the pressure from the society. So in his own words, which I quoted, he says that the reason why I'm speaking out is so that other men can stand and be supportive of their wives who are going through this situation, and who understand it's not your wife's condition, it is it becomes a collective condition. If it is endometriosis, we are suffering from endometriosis. If it is fibroids, we are suffering from fibroids. If it is PCOS, we are suffering, we are living with this condition and we are seeking treatment. And he also goes on to explain how every course of treatment is, his wife will not go and decide to take medication without consulting him. They not necessarily consulting, but they go together to the doctor, the three of them, and they sit with the doctor and they think of the best plan, which is the best treatment. Should we try this treatment? Should we not try that? And I think that's a very interesting way of looking at it, because even I must say, as women, we are cute, we sometimes go and decide to, I will use this treatment, I will try this one and all that, without necessarily involving your husband, who would want to play a part in this treatment and walk the journey with you and better support you, so that it's a collective decision and you walk this journey together. Yes. So it's interesting to see it also from the male perspective. So when you think of the example that I gave you from the newspapers today, everybody's talking about it here in Nairobi, in Kenya actually, and it is really, really it is really it's a tragedy, because those are two lives that were lost over a secret that had been kept, and it just came out, it's devastating.
Thank you for that important chapter in the book, because it really speaks to our situation as African people. And tell me, your topic is very much a taboo topic, menstrual issues. You're talking about something that's taboo. And so what have been your strengths in talking about this topic, and also in your foundation that you have actually come up with?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think, having suffered with menstrual disorders myself for close to 30 years, and then formed a foundation and come up and partnered with other women who are going through this issue, I really, it was about time. I think that we started being vocal and talking and letting people know about what women are suffering from. Because when you think about one condition, like if it's endometriosis, 1 in every 10 women suffer from endometriosis. 1 in 10. Those are so many women. In fact, they say the statistics are like 176 million women, or to 178 million women in the world suffer from endometriosis. And then we haven't even talked about others, adenomyosis, the fibroids, PCOS, all these kind of conditions. Yeah. And so many women are going through this. And for me, what breaks my heart is that it starts at the puberty age. It starts at the 12, 13-year-olds. So our young girls in schools are going through this pain. And, it is just not acceptable that in this day and age, we should continue, to let women, suffer and, bear unnecessary consequences, such as infertility, when some of these issues, if interventions had come in earlier, it would have saved, some dire, consequences, such as infertility or even other complications. And even the quality of life for women generally. Imagine somebody who has started her menses at 12, 13, like myself, and I started suffering, being critically sick from 15 years old. I mean, what kind of a life is that? And many of the ladies that I come across, even within the foundation and even others that I read about, have gone through that same problem. Some start as early as 9. The problem starts from the age of 9 years. So it's just not acceptable. I just felt in my conscience, no. We have, we saw it from the days of the biblical days, with the woman with the issue of blood going through that. In that generation, we cannot still be talking about that issue and not addressing it. So the whole issue of wanting to have that addressed is what has pushed us, to go ahead, even in terms of the foundation, to not only just write the book, as when you were reading out, when you were just talking about what, my bio, you'll see that we actually went to the school, to the Ministry of Education, and petitioned, lobbied for menstrual disorders education to be included in schools. Yeah, because when they say they're talking about menstrual issues, they just touch a little bit on menstruation and pregnancy, and the topic is finished. And we said no. And then they have been trying to say they're talking about, reproductive health. I don't know what they talk about in this reproductive health. But one thing I can guarantee you, they don't talk to girls about menstrual disorders. Every girl assumes menstruation is normal. Every boy assumes menstruation is normal. Nobody ever talks about abnormal menstruation when there's a problem. So the reason I wrote this book is really to inform women and let women be empowered. Let couples also, let men also know about it, because it's not just, it's actually for the society as large, for the women to, to be able to self-advocate, go and see doctors and say, this, I suspect I'm suffering from this condition. The book kind of outlines those kind of conditions so that you can say, oh, I may be suffering from this or having this condition. And for men to be informed, because men have sisters, they have mothers, they have daughters, they have wives, who they will want to, who will come across, with this kind of situation. And the earlier the intervention is made, the better. Yeah, and the only way we can get rid of stigma and taboo is by talking about it. And I'm so glad, it's in the classroom, and also having this book that families can discuss, even organizations like yours can be able to sit and discuss, some of these examples here. Then at least the word is going out. Yes.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I want to say congratulations for stepping out there and talking about a taboo topic. Here is my sister, Doris Murimi. She says, no, it can't be. We can't stop. We can't stop talking about such taboo issues because somebody is going through that and somebody is suffering. You may be listening to me. You may be watching us right now. And I just want to say to you, when you are going through all these abnormal menses, maybe as a teenager, you may be watching this. Maybe as a high school kid, you may be watching this. I just want to say this thing is not normal. You need to seek medical attention. And my sister is testifying to that. After 30 years of her life, she's been going through this condition and it has not been all right. And I want to say, my sister Doris, kudos to you for establishing this foundation, and kudos to you for writing this book, and kudos to you for stepping out and going into the government of Kenya and convincing the Ministry of Education that we need this thing to be more deeper. We should not touch on the surface, but we should go deep, because many a youngster is suffering because of this condition. And so thank you, kudos, congratulations for doing that thing. I give you a 5-star rating for that boldness to step out and using your pain as a purpose. Yes, turning your pain into purpose and a passion that really has made a difference. And so, my sister, tell us about the yellow nails movement. I don't know whether your nails are yellow today. The yellow nails movement.
The yellow nails movement actually was really set up for the girls, especially high school girls, the adolescents. I mean, there's everything ugly about a condition like endometriosis. It's an ugly condition. It makes the girls miss class. It's horrible. It alienates a girl from others. They can't do sports. They can't do anything. It's really a horrible thing. So having the yellow nails movement was the idea behind it was to get yellow sometimes it's difficult to have like a yellow dress or a yellow something, but we were saying it is very easy to buy just a yellow, simple, cheap yellow nail polish. Paint your nails yellow. That is when they're not in school. That is when they're on holiday, hopefully. Yes, the ones in school. Paint their nails yellow. The fingers, even the women as well, paint your nails yellow, either on your hand or on your toes, and then take a photo and post on Instagram, Facebook, whatever channel, Twitter, and say one thing that you know about endometriosis, because yellow is the color that represents endometriosis.
I
so
feel like painting my nails yellow today and posting them on Instagram. I don't know what people will say about that, but I love the idea.
For men, what we advise you to do also is you can do that. You can participate in the same way, and also just now what you do is tag different people and tell them something that you know about endometriosis. So when the ladies paint yellow, take a photo and post it out there and say something about endo. Men can also wear a yellow tie, a yellow hat, or do something and also say something about endometriosis, a hashtag, and then hashtag yellow nails movement.
Powerful.
The hashtag should be hashtag yellow nails movement. So it's just saying something that like affects 1 in 10 women. It's a very painful condition, things like that. Yeah.
Definitely after this show, I'm going to do this. I'm going to look for a yellow shirt. I'm going to look for something yellow and tag yellow nails movement. And you can do that when you are listening to this show. We are creating awareness and we are saying this is not normal. It needs to be treated and it needs to be destigmatized. Let's take the stigma out of menstrual periods. Let us make this thing clear. Thank you for that. And my sister, When Things Go Wrong is a book that is out, and it's a very powerful book. I don't know whether you have it close to you so that we can see it. Can you show it to us? Yes.
Yes, there it is. When something is wrong, yes, there it is. And it's the face of a young girl, African girl.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So
written from the African lenses.
Yes, I guess through the African lens, even the characters are all got African names. It's really, I wanted a relatable book, one that people could relate to, and the audience feel that, this is a relatable book, it could be my mom, it could be, somebody, my daughter or something like that, my wife, exactly. So a very relatable book. And the topics there, it's not just when I talk about relationships, there's also mental health. There's also ways to support women who are going through this, There's also how men can play a greater role in this, in this kind of awareness and all that. So it's a really good book for even discussion group, for those people who want to learn more, those who want to have a book to do. There are people who like, who do the hobby of reading books, book reviews. This is also a great informative book, even for the audience. I mean, just a book to strengthen, just to get hope, a book full of hope. There's chapter 12 there that is in the book that's called Keeping Hope Alive. And there, it's a really, it's a very good encouragement, faith-filled encouragement, as well as advising about support groups that exist, for working with people, and so we talk about that. Like in Kenya, I think we have the equivalent. We have what you call the Waiting Rooms Trust. So we have that and I've listed it as one of the groups. We have another one called Adoptive Parent Network, which is another one, that would be similar. So it gives some hope. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So if I want to get this book, how can you tell our listeners and viewers how we can actually purchase this treasure? I call it a treasure because It's born from the continent of Africa. It's not only born from the continent of Africa, it's born through pain. It's not only born through pain, but it's shouting. It's shouting. It's shouting. Let the stigma be kicked out. How can people get this book?
Okay, if they go to our website, which is Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation, .org, Endo Sisters East Africa.org, just click on resources. The options of purchasing the book are there. By the way, we're on the first option, when they click the option 1, it can be delivered anywhere. Zimbabwe, South Africa, Egypt, anywhere. Wherever you are placed in Africa, you'll be able to get the book.
There you have it. You can have this book right in your hands. And so I want to encourage you, just go there and purchase this book.
So this is our resources page, Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation. There's the book when something is wrong. And then here, you just click here, option 1, and it will take you, this goes to an online bookstore. So you're able to order it. When you click here, it takes you to an online bookstore. And then here, this is for locally, for book collection option. This is for local within here, Kenya, Nairobi. It's also option 3, ebook purchase. So for an ebook purchase, you can click here. Those people who prefer to read it by ebook. And then for any book donations to schools, we have it there, number 4. But otherwise, you've been able to see that what the book looks like. I'm trying to get back.
We can purchase this book, and it is a valuable resource for our teenagers, for our moms, for our dads, for our children, for our brothers, for our sisters, for our uncles. It is relevant to everybody. So just go there and purchase the book. And thank you very much, Sister Doris, for your time. Any parting words?
I think the word that I'd say is really early diagnosis. Be your own self-advocate. And also, when you know whatever diagnosis you have, mental support, counseling, to be able to acceptance, one, acceptance, and secondly, options. There are always options, in every situation. So be open to options, even if they don't look like the options you would have initially preferred. But be open to options and put God first, and everything will work out well for you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you very much. There you have it, my brothers and my sisters, my viewers, my esteemed people that have tuned in today. We had Sister Doris Murimi all the way from Nairobi, Kenya, and she has spoken from her heart things concerning this very important subject, when things go wrong. May you be blessed. May the Lord lift the light of his countenance upon you. May he give you peace, peace in your hearts and peace in your homes. Until next time, be blessed. Brought to you by Shunem K. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button.